Thank you for joining me for another cup. How to stay centered. So, I started in the main message talking about how it is important for us to operate in a purposeful, intentional way, and that requires us to operate from a center. By the way, if it sounds familiar what I'm talking about, how we sometimes don't operate in a centered way, it's because I am really good at this. I am super good at getting distracted, letting the small rocks trip me up, looking at the cars going by rather than my own map. I have, at times because of this, become the king of comebacks. A comeback workout because I got distracted from a habit or a routine of fitness. A comeback plan for refocusing and making headway on a goal almost forgotten. A comeback as if I was gone and somehow need to start from square one. Do you ever feel that way? Then maybe it's because we get too far from our center. So how do we ensure we don't do that? How do we stop it, this completely human endeavor? Believe it or not, if we look at the psychology of this, the road to our center is paved with patience and forgiveness. There's a difference between getting knocked off center for a bit and losing our center altogether. Or in fact, for our work, not having a center, or at least not one that's compelling enough that we believe in it. I ask you to think about a child, a toddler. And sometimes our minds, especially our emotional center, our limbic brain, behaves like a child. We react to things and we have emotions and we get off base. What does the psychological research show you should do with a toddler when they fall and skin their knee? They immediately look to a parent or someone around them as to what to do. How should I react? In some cases, a parent will run up and tell them, it's okay, they're fine, try to comfort them and make a big deal out of it. The child then inevitably reacts as such and learns quickly that getting hurt is a big deal, and that crying or making a fuss will merit attention and care, and that someone will come along to help or rescue them. Sounds a little bit like our primal brain. But for the sake of learning and development, it is recommended that when this happens, a parent or adult should act like this is just normal. Nothing to be upset about. The child then typically reacts in kind by shaking it off and moving on, developing a mentality of resilience or independence. So when we get off course or realize we have allowed ourselves to be distracted, rather than make a big deal of it or feel guilty or berate ourselves, a bit of grace and quick forgiveness will show us that it's not such a big deal. In fact, that it's normal. And then we can get back to where we need to be, find our center, and carry on. When we get distracted like this, we've lost touch with the feeling of our center. Our center can operate on many levels. It can be a stated purpose. And we've all done this. Our mission statement. What we're here to do. In some ways, you've heard this defined as ikigai, your reason for being. And then we translate that into goals. Here's how who I am and why I'm here is going to manifest itself. So here are my goals. And then we outline the steps to reach those goals. I need to do A, B, and C to reach this prioritized destination. But then we start traveling along that road towards that destination, don't we? And there's so many things that can distract us. So many pretty, shiny, interesting, and even sometimes wonderful things that we find along the way. So we take our eye off the destination. And sometimes being present requires you to do that. Forget about the destination. Just be. And that's fine. But when that time is over, how do we get back on course? Or remember where we're headed? We're not just along for the ride, we are the driver. Sometimes we forget about that. But the way to do that is to put ourselves in the driver's seat literally and mentally. To place ourselves in a place where we can feel where we're going. We can feel the steering wheel in our hands. That feeling is what we lose track of. And in reality, that primal part of our minds that I talked about that reacts like a child, when it feels, it then behaves. So if you've lost touch with the feeling and the confidence and the belief that you are going somewhere, that's when it becomes very, very difficult to stay centered. There's a reason that being and feeling centered is both a physiological thing as well as mental. Because our breath and our physical being is how we connect with things. So take your big goals, take your mission, take your destination, and feel it. Use your mind to create, you're already there. What's that going to feel like when you reach that goal? That visualization has to become physiological. Because once you do that, you have now established an anchor within yourself that is very hard to shake. It's more than a quote on the wall. It's more than a reminder on your to-do list or at the top of your planner. It is what you wake up and feel, not what you read. So think about how you can, and I'll talk more about this in future messages, and I've talked a little bit in other messages about this, but plant that seed physiologically. Connect that goal with something within you that you will carry with you all the time. And then we're less liable of running too far off the course without feeling the direction that we're on. Thanks for joining me for Another Cup: How to Stay Centered.